are back, and we have Matt's back in the house. Matt is back. Here we are. So we're going to talk about swing weighting, stuff that's going on in the McGolf shop, and we'll do Q&A with Matt next on What's in My Drawers Golf Talk. Welcome back to the McGolf shop. Jim McCleary here with Matt. When What's in My Drawers Golf Talk? Why What's in My Drawers? Because old golf club maker, club fitters are tremendous pack rats. And this isn't any different. It's what was in the drawers of my shop. And it's turned into a really good conversation to the point. We got Matt here talking with us, who's been watching since day one, I believe. So we got a lot to cover again. Got a lot to cover. We saw Texas Valero Open. Corey punched his ticket to the Masters. He's a two-time winner, and the only other tournament he won was the same one. We were talking about that earlier. So he's going to the Masters, so congratulations to him. All right, the goings on in the McGolf shop, we were extraordinarily busy. And so before we get started, like, subscribe, hit that stuff across the bottom. And I do have a video that actually, no kidding, will show up tomorrow. I know I've been poor about that, and it is on the emergency build that we did, which you'll see here in a minute. All right, so first thing, we did a birthday present using some Elevate 85s and some of these collegiate colored grips. Aren't they neat? And then we put them in some Mizuno Pros with some BB&F ferrules, and look at all that. I counted. That's there's like 14 different rings on these things, so there's a lot of color happening, and there's a little different look at it, so you can get to see what's happening. Another set we'll start with the CP2 wrap jumbos, and then they had the Acra 80 shafts put in them. This Acra 80 shaft has been a real popular shaft in the last month or so. It's 80 grams, but plays a little stiffer than advertised, so everybody's been kind of digging on that. And we used the new Dynapowers. He was really tugging the Dynapowers pretty good, so good for him. Now, what you're going to see about tomorrow are these. That is as you see, the P7 MBs. This was an emergency build, and we talk about what we look at when we get something like this. A lot of ferrule finishing, some swing weighting, that kind of thing. And we use the Dynamic Gold X100 115s. So X100 115s, when everything's X100, people get this idea X100 that it's an X shaft at 100 grams, or it's an X shaft and 100 means some sort of designator. And then you got the 115. So to clarify what all this means from a true temper point of view, that the 100, the 200, the 300, the 400 is telling you how finite the weight sorting is. All right, you can have from top to bottom, you might have as much as, say, 5 grams. And then the next one might be as 4, and the next one 3, and the next one might be just dead solid on. So they have ranges, and I can't tell you the exact ranges, but I believe it's like a 7, a 5, a 3, and then you're down in doing that. So you want to be careful on those. And then we put the black and gold grips on it. So there we go. So that was that one. And as not to be outdone, but this weekend was celebrated my dad's 87th birthday, and we did some prime rib. Did some prime rib, some baked beans, and some cauliflower salad. So it was a good weekend. It was a good weekend, to say the least. Lunch wasn't bad today either. All right, so swing weighting. So we got some swing weighting. So swing weighting, what is swing weighting? Swing weighting is nothing more than measuring a golf club on a 14-inch fulcrum. So you get it in, you take a shaft and you put it in a holder here and 14 inches over, and then whatever sticks out here, and this thing balances and it gives you a reading. That's literally swing weight in a nutshell. All right. It's been around forever, and it has its uses for making sure you're building a consistent set so they all have the same kind of feel.
Mm-hmm.
But is it the cure all end all of a shaft? And the answer to that is no, or a golf club for that matter. To the point, I would say total weight is far more important than swing weight. However, people like certain swing weights, and so we tend to try to deliver. So we've got two big ones right here. That one is both of those. These are both 10 grams. So if you look at that one, all that is a post with a little bitty bottom on it, which I prefer that. And then you've got, yeah, so what this is, that little notch in there is to allow the glue to come up out from behind it. That makes for putting it in the bottom of the shaft really nice. Or you get one like this. This is a tungsten model, and it's got a little bit of rubber on the outside of it. And you see it's got that little extra. So if you put that in there, you've got to trim the shaft up a little bit more in order to make room for that thing. And as you're adding it, they tend to balance out. However, now you have less shaft insertion.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a real fan of that. Then, so you got two different kinds. And then you have these guys, your typical ones. I have my brass weight and I have my lead weight. And if you notice how different that these are, it's pretty significant in the height. And these are both 10 grams. Okay, these are both 10-gram weights. So there's lots to choose from. And then for those in the Wishon category, as Matt is they come with this. And most of Wishon, and there is another OEM out there that makes a port in the bottom of the hosel. And so that this will slide right into that port and not impact anything in the way of shaft insertion. Okay. So from a fitting perspective, what is it? So working in concert with total weight, if you're a more aggressive swinger, you're really quick on the back and you really pull it down, that a heavier shaft, one that has a little bit more swing weight, so that you can find the club in your swing, right? And those that are smoother, less aggressive, would like something that is lighter, maybe a little less heavy on the head. And so that's what they like to do. And those are the tendencies. Now, as soon as I say that, there'll be a golfer out there that's just the opposite of all that and doesn't like it. So it is what it is. But that's kind of swing weighting in a nutshell. And you'll know if you watch the video that's coming out tomorrow at 7 in the morning, that we go into depth of why that's important. And we also talk about ferrule finishing and why that's important, and you get to see it. So, I mean, if it looks a lot like, not that was the other one, those guys, and you get to see that you see how we get to that point. So that's swing weighting in a nutshell. All right. So that was pretty quick. We got done with that in seriously quick time.
Breaking records.
We got 23 messages already.
Nice.
We're all
and that's not even me.
Look at this. And he's not even on here. There's Charlie saying hello to me, Robin, and Matt. Well done. Not a golfer is checking in from Georgia. Hello there, sir. And Past My Prime is checking in from a sunny central Illinois. I tell you what, it's not bad down here today. It's supposed to get into the 60s. It rained for just, 4 or 5 minutes, and we were good to go.
Coming down here, it didn't rain for us. We stayed last night in Columbus, so didn't rain. It was colder. It was in the 50s, but coming down here, it was almost 70. Yes.
Yeah. So Matt lives a good, 3.5 hours?
3 hours door to door.
3 hours almost directly north, and the temperature difference is easily 10 to 15 degrees.
30.
And it gets the lake effect on it too.
Oh gosh, yeah, don't get me started.
All righty. Well, Pastor Brian, good video on the Nicholas clubs. I usually prefer voiceover narrations on YouTube, so this one suited me. Well, there you go, dude. Well done. I like that. I referenced Larry at Ammo NYC. He does a YouTube channel on car detailing. Yeah. And he does a lot of behind the scenes on that one. He does a very, very good job. All right. The Common Man. Hello, Jim and Rob, Central Florida. 91. Woohoo! Well,
Send that up here.
no doubt. We're going to be in Destin this coming weekend and through the following week. And we've been seeing between 63 in the morning and 73 in the afternoon. I mean, I'm thinking it can't be any more perfect than that, right?
Must be nice.
So Bob and I are going to tool around and see if we can actually golf our arms off.
Nice.
There's Scott. How are you doing, buddy? Glad to see you make it back. Oh, and he says even Robin and Matt. There you go. Scott was off one of the very first forums I ever attended. It's called Free Golf Info, FGI. Okay. And Scott was a big time participant. Good man.
Cool.
There's Dan. Says, hey, Jim, Rob, Matt, hope you're all well. Dan from Duluth, good deal. Hope you're not covered up by all the tax stuff. There's Brandon. Look at that. Jim, Robin, and Matt. Callaway fitting day here on Friday. Nice. Looking forward to hit the paradigm. Any tips when getting fitted and questions ask a fitter? Well, so if you're talking about, if you go to hit the irons, be prepared to hit them out of sight because they're extraordinarily strong in comparison to your Srixons. And but you probably won't like the look of them because they got the fatter top line and maybe a hair of offset on them. However, the hybrids, of which I just did some testing on, we talked about it last week. I tend to like the hybrids. They were very, very easy to hit, and that bat wing sole gets through the turf. You'll probably end up liking that a little bit, but I would be wary of the shafts. Now you get into the Paradigm and the driver, and of course you got the Paradigm X, and the Paradigm Triple Diamond. The Triple Diamond is for the guy that can find the middle of the club face. It sits a little bit open, where the regular Paradigm sits square and has the weight, and then the Paradigm X is, they say square, but I say about a degree closed, but everything inside of it's draw bias. And so that's where you can go with that. Now they also have, the predominant shaft will be the hazardous silver, the hazardous silver. And it's a middle of the road shaft, and it's very nice for guys like me. But if you're a late releaser or somebody that swings quite hard both ways, you may not like it. So you gotta kind of watch that. However, now they do have a different hazardous shaft that's available, and they also can now get the Ventus, but without the Velocore. And the Ventus without the Velocore is really quite nice. And ask them if you're hitting the Paradigm and you're not quite getting it one way or another, don't be afraid to adjust that slider in the back because it actually does work. So I'd say give them a ride and see what happens. And let us know, because it'd be interesting to see how they compare. Denison, Jim, Robin, and Matt's becoming a thing, dude.
Yes.
Jim and Robin got my Makefield center shafted with the weight kit. Fun setting it up. The putter is fantastic. We were just going over that because I was showing him mine with the BGT in it. And he was actually putting with one out there when you were putting against your son and throwing it. So what'd you think?
The weight is a lot different. I think I'd like that shaft in it a little bit more because I have that tank already. And I love the Odyssey O-Work tank. That thing just keeps it on line. But I like the center shafted. If I ever made a change, it would be the center shafted putter and putting it right exactly where I needed to get it and just letting it die right into the ball. So
there you go.
Yeah.
I like the VS. I personally like the VS, Duke. They got we call it the big moon and the baby moon. I was talking with them earlier, and there might be one more maybe coming out, but they all have center shafts, and they all have the heel mounted, and then they all have various necks. They have like the slant neck, a smaller S neck, a straight in. And just for the fun of it, what I did is I put like a slant neck into a center shaft just to see if somebody could hit it. And it's really kind of funky looking, but it kind of works.
Would
So
it
it's something to
be
look at.
like the one where how it'll sit
Well, what
the
it does,
opposite?
yeah. Well, no, what it does is
Yeah.
what it does. It goes out, and the neck does like
Yeah.
this, and it goes up.
Okay.
But they're all at the same line
Okay.
angle when they sit in there. So you get into the center,
Mhm.
and then you just got that thing that goes.
Yeah.
At, so you have this offset center shaft.
Yeah.
So if you like lagging it a little bit,
Yeah.
it would be really, it'd be really kind of cool.
Are they a lower lie angle?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay.
They measure out what we've got. We've got like 15
I saw all the
shafts.
shafts out there.
So
Yeah.
anywhere from 69 to like 71
Okay.
in the different ones. Alrighty. There's Bill Nauman. I heard range balls are 75% of their regular golf balls. Is that true? And a lot those would be, Bill, what I would consider those are limited flights. In the range ball category, range balls they're regular golf balls, but they're just not made as well as the normal golf ball. And what I found here we use the Wilsons, and right to about it's between the 7 and the 8 iron. The 7 and 8 iron, they are 1-for-1. Whatever you hit, you could hit it, and you get a pretty good distance while you're out playing. Now you get above the 7 iron and above, and you lose about a club, and then the same thing into the driver. Now the other part is when you're out of doors and it gets about 50 degrees or lower,
Yep.
they turn into stones.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when they really show their colors, and they really don't fly very much, where you would get the 75 to 75%. And yes, that would be true.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some that are called limited flight for the shorter driver ranges, like the 200-yard driving range.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a guy that hits 250 and you come around, you hit one of these things, it's humbling when the thing doesn't go 200 yards. But that's where they're. And they also have floaters. And I've seen ranges that are it's an aqua range, and you just hit them into this pond and they float. And every time I think that, every time I think about it, it's like hitting a Nerf ball. So there we go. Jim, my woods have sky marks and green stains on the bottom of the range mats. What's your process for cleaning up woods? So the funny part about this one is for the what I call mat goo, right? For mat goo, what I like using is literally a cold water and like a greenie, cold water and greenie, because the cold water because the range mats are basically plastic. So you get the plastic and it gets it firmer, and then the greenie goes and scrapes it off. That's what I tend to use now. If it gets really bad, I've got a wavy wheel, and I just leave it on a wavy wheel. But for home use, it's basically underneath that.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you go to the range a lot?
When I hit balls, it's usually off of grass. So
okay.
Yeah. But I'm lucky enough that I have family that has a nice farm, so I go there and practice.
So as far as sky marks, I can't do too much about that one, but that's from the range. Now, what that typically is coming into the ball a little steeper than more, almost like a hooding example. And the best way to stop that is literally get a little closer to the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, you get a little. It's really hard to pull the club over when you're doing that. So, yeah, that's where I would go.
Nice.
Here's Krister. He's from Sweden. How you doing, sir? I didn't see you throwing it into that. He's got one of those little putt outs. Remember that thing that we got out here? It's the putt out with looks like a banana.
Yeah.
So he's got a video on Instagram where he makes like 6 or 7 in a row.
Oh, jeez.
Just and from a respectable distance too.
Oh, jeez.
He's like, what is it? What are you? 8 foot? He's like 8 foot back, and just throwing them right in there, and with a yes putter, just killing it.
Those things are. Fitzpatrick won the U.S. Open with the yes
There
putter.
you go. He says, oh, he's been hospitalized for 3 days with pneumonia. Dude,
Ooh.
we don't like hearing that. Discharged yesterday, still very unwell. Got sick last Monday, on sick leave the rest of the week.
Pneumonia's that's
That's
something
not
else.
a lot of fun. I had it once. That was enough for me to not like it. So, dude, get better.
Yes.
That's all we want to hear. Get some rest, get better. Maybe you can practice more. Let's see if you can set a record for those putts while you're sick. There's got to be a Guinness Book of Records there.
Yeah.
All right. Slats. Robin, Jim, and Matt.
Nice.
Yesterday made a 70. Unfortunately, it's my age. Hopefully, in about 10 years, I can shoot my age. Hey, dude, shooting your age. 70's not 70. You beat 90% of the golfers on the planet shooting
98%. That's like crazy.
Yeah. So that's awesome. That's awesome. And there it is. We're sending good vibes up to Krister in Sweden. All right. And he's saying thanks. Steve Bird from England. How are you, sir? Hope you're well. In your opinion, what is the best putter for a high handicap golfer? A blade or a mallet? Ooh, there's a good one.
I think it's the green. I think the types of greens that you putt on. I think if you are putting on faster greens, a blade putter or even a heavier putter would work better. The mallets are there. Obviously, it's a stroke situation as well. Inside to out, square to square, all of those. Look down. You want to look at a friend. That's what I've always said. You want to look at the friend. But if you're putting on fast greens, look at a blade. Look at something a little heavier. If you're putting on greens that are slower, get something that looks good and all of that.
There you go. So, Steve, from a high handicap point of view, in reality, what Matt said, and I'd also throw in, you want to marry up your stroke, right? Even where you're playing, but you want to marry up your stroke. So if you're more of an arcing putter, right, just to get started, if you're more of an arcing putter, then a blade is certainly where you want to be. This is just real basic stuff. If you're a guy that tries to putt straight back, straight forward, then a mallet, okay? Now, once you got that in the bag, then you want to be able to see the line. And when you see the line, it doesn't necessarily mean you got to be eyes right over the ball. That's important, but it's not a mandatory. You can be inside and be okay. All right, as long as you can see the line consistently. And then the last bit is making sure that unless you've got some sort of medical disposition, make sure that putter is sold. That when that putter is sold, when you go to bring it back, it stays on plane, and you're more consistent about squaring up the club face. So there you go. And thank you for staying up so late. All right, Duke also got fitter for a driver in Callaway Paradigm Triple Diamond 1 with a Kylie. Is that how you say it? Kylie white shaft. Looking forward to that to arrive. That is one, Duke. That is one stout setup, brother. That Kylie is not to be trifled with. It is a very, very, very. It's a very nice feeling shaft. It's a Mitsubishi shaft, and it's got the Hawaiian color, Hawaiian decoration on it. Very, very nice. And then the triple diamond. The triple diamond, it's funny because they talk about the club being very, very forgiving, right? Because they talk about AI cup face, all forgiving, yada yada yada, and then they make this triple diamond, which is smaller in appearance. It's actually smaller and a little taller.
Okay.
Instead of 460, it's like 440.
Okay. Oh, so it's
not super small.
It's not like 360 or anything.
No. And it sits open. And in the first model, the triple diamond in the Rogues, you missed off just even the littlest bit. In this one, it's not nearly as bad.
Okay.
So we'd like to hear how you did, bud. That'd be a lot of fun. Mike from Buffalo got the first round in the year today with the new Paradigm. Performed every bit. +5, 76 to start the year.
Nice.
Dude.
Good playing.
Yeah, he's big. He's got game. Have you got a full round in yet?
I've got 118 and 2 9s, so I've played 3 times. No, I'm sorry. 2 18s and 2 9s. That's 4 times. Sorry.
Wow.
Yeah.
So did you go out with your buddies that are
Yes.
all? Oh my.
Yeah. The first round was I posted it when we played. It was in February. I think I shot 78 or 79, and I got blitzed. My buddy, he shot 67.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, 60. I think it was 67 and 71 that I lost to. It was in February. I couldn't hit a.
And
Yeah.
these guys are all over these guys are shooting that low in February.
February, yeah. They can golf.
They are coming ready for you this
Yes,
time
they
around.
are.
All righty.
I got them the next time.
Stu, hey buddy, question on taper tip shafts. Say KBS Tour Stiff 120 gram what is the weight of it if it was an inch longer than standard for a really tall person? Would this affect swing weight? Well, we didn't talk about that when we talked about swing weight. So what you'll find out in a lot of cases is the numbers that you get are, we'll call them generalities. And some of them are made that they're 120 in the raw length, and some of them are made to be 120 after they're cut.
Okay.
And each manufacturer is a little different. And so, for instance, and just because I was working on one, like the Nippon 120 really runs around 113 to 115. Okay. That just so happens the KBS Tour Stiff raw runs in that 120 to 123 range. So when you cut it down, it'll be a little bit lighter. But each inch, there used to be a rule of thumb, like each inch was worth a gram or two. All right. And as the walls get bigger around, like the 610 butts, you're probably really closer. As they get narrower, they actually get heavier because there's more thickness. So there's just more stuff, right? Just more stuff. So I would assume the 120, give or take a couple of grams. And then if you made it an inch longer, you're talking about 6 swing weight points in addition to what you already had. Because keep in mind, it's just like being on a teeter-totter. And if you're at here and it's balancing and you go out a little further, it's gonna be heavier. And that's just the way it works. So even if it was an 80 gram shaft and you went out and you went 1 inch longer, it would still be that same 6 swing weight points, but it would be higher than the standard. All right. So in the 120, if it was running D3, D4, in the 80 gram, it might run D1. And then you get it and you put this extra inch on it and you're in D3, or you can be much higher. So D1, you can be as high as D7, right? And that's how it works. And it also depends on the other part we didn't talk about, Stu, is the grip that you use.
Yeah.
Right. So he likes a big jumbo size grip, which weighs, and I like a standard grip, which is easily 20 grams difference.
Yes.
And that accounts for another 5 swing weight points for the negative. So it really can balance out. For instance, those shafts. Let's see if I can show it to you again. These clubs right here that I showed you, right? Those are 1.5 inches long. All right. Where'd I go with that? Here we go. Didn't want that. Let's get rid of that. There we go. They're 1.5 inches long. Okay. And because they're 1.5 inches long, they were very, very heavy swing weight wise. I put the jumbo grip on it, which was extraordinarily heavy, and all of a sudden they're running in D3. So there's all that to consider. It's like this math problem that takes up a whole page. All right. Jim, you've told us before, but when using a tungsten tip weight, do you trim 1/4 inch off the butt or the tip? So, okay, that's a good question. Here's the tungsten one that we're talking about, right here. So if I'm using this, I literally like I will trim that 1/4 inch off of the tip. All right, I will take it off the tip because this is taking up the space of that shaft.
Okay.
And right in this particular tip area, there's easily I'm going to say 5 to 6 grams. There's some weight in here, but the most of it sits here. And so that's taken up, and that's going to make this tip play a little softer. So when you cut that inch off, so you're getting your flex back, plus you get your swing weight. There you go. XX for us high handicappers who hit it crooked, like a lot of golfers there, brother. So watch out. Do hard, high spin balls go further offline, or softer, less skinny balls? What do you think?
I do like the question. That's a great one. For me, I think the harder the ball, the higher the spin, the more offline it's going to go.
Absolutely right.
Yes. The softer, obviously, your top end golf balls are going to spin, but they're designed to spin a little differently. So are you going to hit it into the woods less? Probably not, but it's just one of those things that when you're talking about golf balls, find what's obviously number one in your budget. And number two is something that you can hit a driver with, that you can hit an iron with, you can chip with, and you can putt with. If you can do all those different things with one ball, then you found it. If you're missing something, like you can't chip or putt with it that you as effectively, maybe find another ball in that realm that will help you out.
Yeah. So Matt's right on target with this one, X. The harder golf ball will spin more, creating more of a curve, right? And it'll go more crooked. Where a softer ball will certainly spin a little bit less, but it's not going to stop you from curving. It just won't be this banana or boomerang kind of feel like a harder ball would be, and it would get there. Now, we're going to go a little bit further with this, in that when people talk about curving golf balls and stuff, the word side spin tends to creep up in this situation. And nothing could be further from the truth.
It's always backspin.
Yep. So if this is the axis, well, here, I just so happen to have golf balls right there. Oh, look at that.
I was going to say, I can walk right over there.
Yeah, we can get one.
Got a million of them.
All right. So if we look at this, and you see the arrow on the ball, right? And it's a little bit. So what happens is when you hit a ball, it climbs up the face and starts spinning backwards. It starts doing like this. It starts spinning backwards. Now, depending on your club head path, your face angle, those two are the biggest players. Then all of a sudden, this can tilt one way or the other, and you're tilting it. So you're tilting this same axis in this direction, but you're spinning it like this. And so now it'll want to go curving this way, or if it tilts this way, it wants to curve that way. So it's like throwing a curve ball. Right? If you want the small curve, you're throwing it in close. If you want the big curve, you throw it way out there and you throw it from the side. And you literally, what it is it's the way that your face angle to it and the amount of spin that you're going to throw to it, which is the same what we're talking about. So when somebody's out there, you put too much side spin on it. No, you didn't. You put too much angle on it and it still went that direction.
If it was side spin, it wouldn't get off the ground.
Yep. All righty. There's Scotty again. I still MOI half match and use TLT. There you go. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. So what he's talking about?
What is
it's MOI.
Okay.
Okay. So
I got you.
Yeah. Moment of inertia.
Yeah.
And that was a thing. So Washawn actually introduced moment of inertia, and it's a moment in time. Right. It's a fairly basic concept that has these infinite implications. So, I mean, this has a moment of inertia. This has a moment of inertia. This thing has a moment of inertia. It's just a matter of finding it. And it's the same thing with a club face or a golf club shaft or the grip or the whole thing together. And the moment is kind of an alternative to swing weighting. All right. It's an alternative to swing weighting. And there's a guy in Cincinnati been very successful with it. I just have not gravitated towards it because we were there in the beginning and there was no real systematic way of approaching it to make it work. They have the machines there now. They're much, much, much better than they were when we first started. and I guess it's just a matter of figuring it out. TLT is true length. Was it true length fitting or true length something? Anyway, what it is, it's based on your stature, your how you address the ball and stuff.
Okay.
And it comes with this chart, and it says, normally half-inch increments from the top to the bottom.
Okay.
And this chart might say no. You might curve. You might, it might go half, 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 and then go 3/8, 3/8, 3/8, 3/8.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And in order to be up to your body type.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something to it. I think in very simplistic ways is if you fit like a 5-iron, and then you fit like a pitching wedge, and say the pitching wedge, this guy might like something a little taller, and so on a chart, right? On a chart, so he's normal here, a little bit higher here, and then you draw your line, and that's how you would build your to length. So some good ideas.
Yeah.
All righty, here we go. My dog Rex. Easter golf with my dad, 80 years at the Villages. Will he let me win? I don't know, dude. Those father-son games can get pretty damn brutal. All right. Here we go. James Bizans. There we go. Got it. What would you recommend for cleaning Callaway raw wedges? Roger Cleveland said to use purple Scotch-Brite pads. I believe they are non-abrasive. Okay, so the raw,
I've never cleaned a raw one. So, yeah.
I would say the purple Scotch-Brite. It depends on how much of the patina you want to take off, James, because somewhere in there they also, even if it's a raw face, if you go look, I believe there's lines in between the lines, and because it's so soft, you can actually wear some of those things off. So the purple Scotch-Brite would do it. I think the regular greenie, if you were just delicate in your touch, you would get away with the same thing.
Isn't that what it's designed for?
Well, it gets literally, the whole thing with rust, they show that, it gets rustier, and it's going to create more spin. Well, in reality, if you had a smooth face, or the ones with all the grooves in it, and all of a sudden it started bubbling up with all these little rust particles on it, I'm thinking that you're really not getting the best thing out of it. It's
I would
not
think
best.
you're hitting flyers. Yeah.
There you go. But the thing is, if you ever looked at one of these things that are patinaed, it's all rusty except for that one spot where the dude's hitting it.
Yeah.
So it's just the opposite of the guys back in the day that had chrome clubs, and the one rusty part is where they hit it all day long. It's just the opposite. So James, I would say Mr. Cleveland or Mr. Roger Callaway. It's actually Roger Cleveland. Roger is right on the money. John Timmons. I'm hitting a hybrid now. I would like a good 7-wood to go with my 923 Mizunos. I'm hitting a hybrid now. Would like to have a 7-wood. So the 7-wood is around 21 degrees, so that's around a 4 hybrid-ish, right? If you're I'm going based on what I just did here like a weekend ago. If you like the Mizunos, John, I would not be afraid to recommend the Mizuno STX hybrid in the 4. It's a 22, and it's plus or minus 2 degrees. So you could get it to go a little bit further. When you get it, hit it. And if you need it to go a little bit more, you can always make it stronger. If you need to go a little bit less, you can always make it weaker. But it's a good look. It really is. It's a good performer too. Debbie Crow, what wedges do you prefer around the greens? Here you go, short game.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
He's a short game guy, right? He's the man.
Yeah, right. Back in my last time I was here, back during the Christmas time that we were here, I mentioned to you guys that I've started to work with a local professional to help me polish parts of my game, and that was one of the parts that I've been polishing. Around the greens, to answer the question, around the greens, I will use one of 2 clubs. I have my sand wedge I was always a 55-degree sand wedge, or 56, whatever my sand wedge loft was. always around the greens. I could move it back in the stance. I can move it up in the stance if I need to hit it higher, lower, all that. So I just played it. Now I'm actually preferring to hit a chip shot with a 9-iron.
Oh.
And I'm actually working more with a toe down version of it. It's almost like a putt chip type of thing. That the toe is down off of it, and I'm hitting these little chip shots that are popping up maybe foot in the air and rolling out like a putt. And it's been very unique for me. So I would say find a club that you can do that with your wedge. If it's a pitching wedge, if it is your sand wedge, it is your lob wedge, if you have one, figure out which one that you know that you can hit higher if you have to hit a shot over something, and then learn that other shot that you don't have to hit over something, and to get the ball rolling as fast as you possibly can.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing I will add from a design basis is that if you play in an area that is hilly, if you play in an area that's hilly, or your greens are
raised,
elevated from the fairways and they have skirts around them, that a wedge that has a pretty good heel and toe relief on them. And that, because what he's talking about right there is when you put the heel in or the toe in, that when you go through and that relief's gone, you don't get caught.
No.
You don't get caught and you can get through it. Now, can you on a regular club? Yes, but you're more likely to save your shot when it's not there than as if it is. And so you can go with that. Now, if it's relatively flat, then you can go with what they would call a standard grind. And that's basically, it's a little narrower with a little bit of relief on the back, and you can chip with that thing all the way. And I call those point, click, and chips. And and they do exactly what they're asked to. They're actually very, very nice.
Yeah.
Now, if you're asking for a style of wedge, I've been lucky enough that I've hit with Wilson, I've hit with Mizuno, I've hit with Callaway, and we've also hit with the Srixon, which is the Cleveland.
Yeah.
All right. So if you like something that's a wider sole, I mean a really wide sole, Cleveland wins the day.
Yes.
Wins the day all day. Now, if you're looking for something with a much narrower sole, it's just the other end. Wilson wins the day because they have two. They have a tour and then they have the staff. And they also have a high toe, but the ones that we're talking about, tour and staff. Very, very nice clubs. Now, if you're looking for something with a little bit more fancier, like sole grinds, like D's and C's and X's and S's and all that stuff, then it's a head-to-head with Callaway and Mizuno, right? And as far as bite on the ball, I'm throwing my hat in with the Callaways because they're just a little bit more aggressive, and that's the reason why I go there.
Nice.
All right. James again. Hi, Jim. What do you think of the Epic Star Max Aaron's by Callaway with the Atlas 13 handicapper? I'm in my 60s. So the Epic Star is it was a golf club that was specifically designed for slower swing speeds. And it's very, very light. The star head is very, very light. The UST Atlas shaft is very light. The grip is actually very light in order for you to get some club head speed going. If you still have decent club head speed, I wouldn't recommend it because it'll just fly around. You won't find it. Now, if you're slowing down or you have some medical issue or whatever, then yeah, it could do well. The other thing you got to be very, I'm going to forewarn you now, is the club's long. I think it runs 46 inches.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so 46 inches.
I think mine's 46 inches.
Yeah, and he's a giant.
I'm 6'5".
Yeah, and he's a giant. So you got to keep all that in mind for the quality of your hit. Is there a good video watching how to regrip your wedge after you open it up and keep hitting balls to the right? Oh, I have seen this. It's funny that you asked. I was looking at these.
I don't know what he means.
He's actually. It's actually about a swing. This is more in your line. Where a guy, how do you regrip your?
Oh, he's
opening it up. He's opening up the club instead of just opening up the hands. You got the club open. regrip it and then hit a shot? You've seen the guys do that. So what he's doing is he's not letting go of the club and he's opening it up and then taking this swing and everything's going to the right. He's towing it.
Oh,
if he's a right-hand golfer, it's a toe
Yeah.
shot. Because he's opened it up and everything opens up that way.
Like he's losing the club and it's moving in his hands. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
So
I'm sorry. I need a visual. We need a visual.
Demonstrations here. So let's just say that you were going. Let's just say that you were. This is shallow, and you're at a wedge, and you go to open it up.
Yeah.
So he goes like this.
Oh no! You've got to open it up, then re-grip it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so he's asking about where do we re-grip? Where is there a video out there for re-gripping? Is there?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Okay.
So James,
no, just leave it open and just take your normal grip off of the open face.
Yep.
Because what's going to happen is your body, your subconscious is going to take over, and it's going to not let you hit it way right or way left. And if you do that, your hands are just going to go back to where they're normally going to be, anyways.
Right. Another thing, and he's right.
Visual learner.
So what I would also look up, James, is search wedgeducation.
Okay.
Wedgeducation, and actually, Mr. Cleveland talks about this. Mm-hmm. And there's a series of videos of how to hit wedge shots, and one of those is that what you're asking about. Mm-hmm. And but yeah, so Matt was saying is you get it open to where you want it. What you do is you take one of your hands off, go back to the normal stance, and you should be good to go.
Yeah, wherever you're going to hold, I can't really see it.
Yeah,
it's not going to work with a hybrid.
So that's where you would go. Look at that. We got Krister still with us. He must be
he's feeling better. That's awesome.
He must be feeling bored. All right. Swing it. Talking about center shafted putters. My yes putter is a Tiffany Swash center shafted putter. Center shafted putters is the best putter. I've tested many of the models and no one comes close to my own.
Nice.
Krister is that guy that he's that guy that will make do with like McGregor MVP or VIPs and just absolutely slap them around. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he would kill it.
Nice.
All right, here we go. We got this one. Ron Bamil. What iron is wider, the ZX5 Mark IIs or the JPX 923s? Well, let's go find out.
Man, you got the visual learners today.
Yeah, there we go.
Let's see them.
ZX5.
Gotta love it.
923s. Here we go.
At least you know exactly where they're at.
Since I put them there, I better know. Right? Okay. So ZX5. Yeah. I'm gonna take this thing off the bottom here.
Okay.
ZX5. There's the 923. So there's the ZX5, and there's the and the ZX5 923. So there you go. If you were to measure them, if you were to put them together, and just put them like this so that you could see.
Yeah.
Let's just do it like that. Like that.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
So what do you think? If you're looking at it, what do you think? Which one's wider? So you got by far and away, right? The 923 by far and away wins the day.
They go anywhere.
Mizuno with Mizuno, Strixon with Strixon.
Okay.
So Ron, what it is the there we go. So what they both have, what they've both done to make the soles look narrower is they put this strip of like a shiny chrome on it, and it gives it this smaller effect. But by far and away, it's the Hot Metal Pro. All righty. TrueLink Technology, that's what it is. Good call, man. I appreciate it. That was the TLT that we were.
That was what you were talking about with the line. Okay.
Yeah. Ryan Tracy, hello there, sir. Glad you're on. Dennis Hood, what would be the ideal temperature of a club head when pulling them off, or does temperature depend on the type of epoxy used on the original installation. Dennis, you have no idea what a really good question this is. It's not necessarily the club head as a whole, but where you apply the heat, right?
Yeah.
You don't want the whole, so we'll go real basic. You obviously don't want the whole head to be the same temperature because of if they're multi-piece or something like lines and it's just hot and it's just a waste of energy, to be honest. You need to heat up the hosel, that 1.5 to 1.75 on the outside of the club head. All right. And yes, different epoxies break at different temperatures.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, it is really, really, really easy to tear apart a TaylorMade. I mean, you just look at it, Matt, and it pops it off. It's really, you can really, it's funny because it's 15 seconds, 10 to 15 seconds, boom, and it's off and away you go. Now, Mizuno's, Titleist, all the rest of them, it's a good minute's worth of heat application, which means it's going to get hotter, and then you pull it out or you twist it. And for instance, what was I doing the other day? Some Titleist, and it took me at least 1.25 minutes to get it to where it would break to an E. So I wasn't really grinding on it that it would actually break. So it takes a little bit more. Now the DP810 that I use supposedly has one of the highest ones. And of course, it's used on the tour, so they don't want it to bust off easily because you have no idea where these pros are going to take their golf clubs. And so, but yeah, that's a good question. So does it take a whole lot? A couple hundred degrees.
Have you ever checked the temperature before you pulled?
I've never done a tip stick on it or shot it or anything like that. But it does bring into the situation. So if you had let's say you had a black car and you put your clubs in the trunk and it was a 90-degree day and you let them sit there all day, literally you could probably bring them out. And if you got them right then and there, you probably bring them out and break
possibly,
them.
Yeah.
Because the reason why I say that is because they've shown that the trunk temperatures can get upwards of like 300, 400 degrees. So, I mean, it's got to be a bright, shiny day. It's got to be a black car. I mean, there's a lot of gotta haves, but there you go. So, yeah. Now, there's also some ideas if you're having troubles pulling a golf club. Ping is the absolute worst at trying to make that go because they have such a good fit. It's very, very tight. And sometimes it'll take 2, 3, 4 applications of heat in order to get it to loosen up and to break off. So if you've got it, you don't have to put all that heat on at the same time. Take your time, do a minute, relax for about 30 seconds, do another minute. Relax for 30 seconds, another minute. And also save you from discoloring the head a lot too. All right, that was a good question.
That was a great question.
What's the biggest difference between a TX shaft and tipping an X shaft 1 inch?
We do not.
You know what TX is?
No.
Tour X.
Okay.
So what's the biggest difference? That the X after you tip it an X will be way more stiffer than the Tour X ever thought about being. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
So the difference between Tour X and X is basically not just the tip, but the whole profile is a little bit more beefier. Okay, so just a hair more in the butt, a hair more in the middle, and a hair more in the tip section. Where an X is basically a stiffer version of the X or of the S flex. Okay, if you tipped it at an inch, even if it was a driver, the X flex would most likely play way more stiff than the Tour X. But that would be the difference. All right. With all the clubs you build, do you see yourself ever getting a puring machine? No, not ever. And it's not that it's not a very cool machine. It is a very cool machine. You know what it means by the puring machine? So it's a way that they balance. It's a computer that is on that main jig.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
And it twangs the shaft and it rolls it around.
Yes.
And when it's all said and done, it says, "Put a mark here." That's how you put the club together, and you're all done. The answer is still no.
And
it's not that
you had already had it. If it was something that was
the reason being why I don't have it is the initial cost of it was very, very high. And honestly, now could I get it? Yes. But then there is this maintenance / royalty fee that comes in behind it. And I've never been a real fan. If you want me to upgrade it's like buying a computer and then you have to buy new software and then you got to buy new software
or a new
jack
or a new jack,
right. And to be able to go up to higher. And some just doesn't sit right with me on that kind of stuff for some reason. If I've bought this and I give you a maintenance fee, then everything ought to be covered. I don't want to pay any extra for anything else. I don't want to keep doing it every time I touch this thing. It just one and done. I don't mind paying the maintenance fee if let's just say this thing costs $15,000, which it very well may. And if you tell me my maintenance fee is $500 or even $600 a year, it's a lot of money. You got to be doing a lot of clubs, and we're probably to a point where that would make sense. However, if the maintenance fee was $1,500 or it was $2,000, which I've heard tell that this is crazy, upwards of $3,000 or $4,000, which now all of a sudden you're getting outside my business model, and we don't do enough to support that. That's a lot of golf clubs, and we don't do that. So that's the only reason why. Do I think it's a bad thing? No. And this is the absolute chicken or the egg conversation between club makers. There's guys that don't care about it. There's guys that absolutely believe in it, and you can go. But if for some reason it was the costs have changed, then I might look into it. But I don't think that they have. All right, Slats recently purchased a set of Stealth HD irons, 7 through the sandwich, with the Speeder NX Red Graphite. I'm hitting them slightly further than the Wilson launch pads. Any thoughts on either set of the iron?
Got to be the lofts are different. Are Wilson and TaylorMade's a little?
I'm not sure what the HD means in the Stealth, but the Stealths are very, very strong.
Okay.
The launch pads are also quite strong too. And now the Fuji Speeder NX Red versus whatever might be in your launch pads might be where you're getting it. The other part is that might be it. I would also check the lie angle. I believe that the Stealths might be a little more upright, where the launch pads may not be. And you might not, your turf interaction might be causing that slight difference in that. And I will tell you, so that, now that I've said it and I've opened up the door myself, the lie angle, and for you, it's important as well.
Huge.
It's huge for you. I just did it. I did it the other day, and we're doing a fitting. Kid had been playing golf for 1 year. He's got 110. Was it 110? 110 mile an hour iron swing. The dude's an animal, and he's got that Matt Wolf thing where he's got that Matt Wolf where he goes ink, ink, and then he takes off with it. And when we finally got him settled out, he was smoking it. And I'm here to tell you that I didn't change the shaft. I went out there and I bent the club 1 degree. 1 degree, and it was the difference between a 120 smash factor and a 130 something smash factor, and it was two clubs here. So turf interact, and now it's not the lie angle, it's the turf interaction
with it.
And he got out of towing it or heeling it, and he got it to where it wasn't dragging the club, and he just got through it. Huge. Did it twice in this last weekend when we were doing the fittings. Lie angle became a thing. And it is very, very important.
I know with me, I was at a +2 because when I got my original set of Callaways, They were an inch longer and 2 degrees upright. I'm playing, what is it, an inch longer and 2 degrees flat. So I'm 4 degrees different. I don't know how I played golf.
It's a different how you get. You don't feel that jarring sensation. Like you're just like, eh.
It's a thing, and the hit the ground and have it flip. I don't do that anymore. And now all these shots are just going like Jim said, live. It's amazing. It's amazing.
All right, here we got Cam. He's out of Canada.
Cool.
Jim, Robin, and Matt again, and all the McGolfaholics out there. Dumb question 148. What's your best?
I love that one.
Uh-oh. What's your best advice to stop hitting the ball towards the toe, and can shaft make a difference? All right, here's your shot at it.
This was length. From what I remember correctly, is what finds the middle of the club face for you consistently is the right length of the club.
There you go.
Yeah. And then obviously your turf interaction, there's a lot of factors to it, but if you're off the toe, you're obviously bringing the club in closer to you in that where the club's getting closer to you coming off the toe. So,
and you can do it and to the extreme, it's the other way. If you really reach out and you really pull it, you make the bat shorter.
Yeah.
And you can hit the toe. So, Cam, here's a couple of things. Number one, if you're hitting towards the toe, it's kind of funny. If you're hitting towards the toe and you're really not making really good turf interaction, all right? And let's say you're going, and it's just like we were talking.
Just stop.
So what you want to do is bend the club up just a little bit. You'd be surprised, just a little bit, a degree and a half. We'll take the club and it will sit differently in your eye, and you'll make all these unconscious adjustments, and then you'll hit it and you'll flush it. That's one. Number two is if you're on the toe, and let's just say you're a standard issue golfer and you're swinging very, very well, and you're not extreme inside out, you're not extreme outside in, and you're just standard, that you're probably a little too far away from the ball. So choke down, say half inch, and back off the club or back off the ball, work your way back in it, set it back down, and then see what happens there. The last thing that I would say is when you talk about the shaft, and it's the total weight of the club. The total weight of the club could be too heavy, and that you're pulling it in because it's too heavy. Too light, you would actually tend to throw it out.
Yeah.
All right, and that's something to consider. So 3 things to look at, man.
It's always 3 things.
Always 3 things. You got to give them 3 things. John Timmons, love my Mizunos. So check out the hybrids.
Nice.
John, I'm here to tell you, you won't be disappointed. When it is the STXs are the upgrades from the CLKs. They say that at the website. You can go check it out. The technology that they have going on in these CLKs is they've thrown a little bit of weight more forward on the face so that your ball spin is a little bit lower. So you go, that's the original CLK.
Yeah.
So that actually, so this is a good example. So show and tell, man, it's all day today. So there's the original CLK. The new one has a Cortex. All of this is gone. And there's this blue stuff. We call it, Robin and I call it the blue goo. But you can see a bar in there, and that bar is a piece of steel that helps keep that weight up here forward. And what it does, and it's a little bit bigger, not much, but just a little bit bigger here in its footprint, and it hits really, really good. All right. Robin's talking to all the folks. Here's one. In Parcher, howdy y'all. Well, how you doing, buddy? Snell came out with a new line of golf balls. Any thoughts? I am not a Snell guy, Duke, so I don't know.
Never played a snowball.
There you go. You got us on a new one.
Yeah.
So, but here's one for you. What do you guys think? Here's one. So they've been talking about this golf ball controversy, right?
Yes.
Holy cow! You want to talk about this is worse than the LIV guys. I mean, so they want to talk and they want to make the golf ball fly shorter, and it's like 7%. Right.
For the people that hit it, you have to hit it a specific distance.
Right. They're going to
swing speed. It'll be affected by it.
They're going to make it a local rule.
Yeah.
Right. And choose to not play it or to play it. And we're talking 7%. So if you talk 7% on a 320-yard drive, 7%. What was it?
You're 20, the math whiz.
20 yards?
Yeah.
I mean, 10% would be 32 yards. You take off another couple of percentage, so you're in the 20 yards. So you're still hitting at 300 and some change. So I'm not certain what I'm seeing here, but he says, "Oh yeah, you'll hit." Rory says, "Oh, you'll be able to hit a full, long iron in the green." No, dude. If you're hitting a 340-yard shot, you're still hitting a 300-plus yard shot, and you're still not hitting that high iron.
Yeah.
So, and from the golf ball manufacturers are freaking out because it's only going to be for those guys you see on TV or even the college guys. Nobody is going to see that.
No.
Where you going to go up and you go, man, I just got this golf ball that flies shorter. Yes. I'm excited.
Yes. Yeah.
Take my
250 to 2.
Yeah, you just took me from 250, 260 down to 2 1/4. Thanks, Titleist. Thanks, Callaway. Thanks, everybody else. Nah, man, nobody's going to do that. And so we got everybody out there. So yeah, it's not happening. JT Wilson, a balmy 91 degrees, only 75% humidity. You got a good day, bud.
Lord.
All righty. Chris Parker, hello, gentlemen and lady. I was fitted to a half-inch over irons. Should I do the same thing for the woods? No, not at all. Typically, in most OEMs, Chris, the woods are made longer by design, and that's a travesty. It shouldn't be done. In fact, as a matter of fact, in your driver, even if you're an inch longer in your irons, chances are, if you have a stock club at 45.5, that you could probably cut a little bit more off of it to hit it better. So the answer would be no. John Lamb, any solutions for getting the shaft off an old ping putter with a small ball which was dropped down the shaft to expand and lock it in? Yeah, and you're not going to like it. So have you ever seen that 1x1 that I've got on the top of my thing?
You talked about this before.
Yeah.
I remember it, but go ahead.
This is no fun whatsoever. Yeah. Okay, John. So what that ball is that's actually a ball bearing. It's an actual steel ball bearing, and it's made for a press fit for ping. Really cool idea, but a giant pain in the butt. All right. What you literally have to do is get underneath where that shaft inserts. Typically, when you're telling me this, an old ping putter means it was like an anser. So it's a blade with a plumber's neck.
Yeah.
All right. So you got to flip the club over, and you literally have to drill a hole underneath the hosel, right where it goes into the shaft goes into the hosel. Then you got to heat it up, and you've got to set this thing. And what I've done is I've set this thing in a piece of wood, and where the shaft will go through there, and the wood holds the head. And then you've got to take a punch, a regular punch that fits in the hole you just drilled, and wham! And you got to send the ball flying. The minute you send the ball flying, it's all good. It's a normal pull after that. Now, I will say there's another method, and I have yet to use it successfully, but other people are claiming that they do. And that is that you put it in the freezer. And you put it in the
freezer. Who has a freezer that big?
I know, right? What they'll do is they'll chop off some of the shaft.
Okay.
So you put the thing in the freezer, you let it sit there a day or two, and you get it just frozen solid. And what happens is the metal in that ball shrinks.
Okay.
All right. And what you got to do is you heat the outside. You got to run from the freezer to your shaft puller, heat it up really fast, put in a shaft puller, and it pops right out. I have tried that several times, and no, it don't work. At least it hasn't worked for me. The other guys must have a special place in Ping's heart to make that happen. Steve Smallwood. Hello, McCleary's and Matt. All righty. There's Mr. Polsky. How you doing? He's another Canadian friend.
Nice.
Scott, There are guys that SST and many more flow. There you go. I'm a flow, spine and flow guy, and it's more from it's monetary than it is anything else. If you wanted to be more precise, the SST, that's the digital version of the analog of spine and flow.
Okay.
So as I like telling folks, when you look at your watch, right, and you look at your watch and you see the analog, right, you see the analog on there. So the SST is the digital version, and the flow is the analog.
Okay.
And that's just how it comes out. Because now the reason why I say this is the bottom line is it all relates to how you assemble the golf club. Yeah. You can balance that shaft out as awesome as you want, and if you turn it off on its side, it's not worth it. And so that's the reason why I flow it all. Ken Turner, have you ever used a dimpler? I did for the first year of making clubs, and then I stopped. Just seen an old one for the first time and apparently used for making a dimple on the shaft for more epoxy adhesion. You would be correct, sir. So what they would do is in a vise. Okay. So you get the vise, they got jaws about yay long, right? And what you would do is those are removable. So you'd screw the regular ones out and you put this in. And what you do is you put the tip in there right to where it was flush, and you would screw the vise down. And in this vise, it would have this little bitty, like a notch. Okay. Like a
you
little
just
metal.
Put one in, or just
just a little metal dowel rod. Oh. And you put this shaft in there and go, and it go boink, and it would dimple the shaft.
You just do it once? Or?
Yep, just once. That's all you need. And what it did is it gave it, just like Ken's telling you, it would give extras. The idea was extra surface area for extra glue adhesion. Okay. Makes all kinds of sense, and it does. It did. But now what's happened is, much like everything else with carbon fiber heads and EI curves, that glue has gotten better. Okay. Glue has gotten better, and it's no longer needed. It's just like pinning shafts. Yeah. Hogan's were always the really ones everybody saw. McGregor's were that when they pinned shafts. Even in the woods, they would pin shafts. It's because the adhesive was horrible. And because clubs would get wet, they were playing in all the different environments and that kind of thing. So they would pin them. All right. What average whole bag fitting cost is it broken up into multiple sessions? Well, it depends on where you go, Mr. Parcher, or Miss Parcher for that matter. For us, we have an iron fitting, a driver fitting, and a putter fitting. And the iron fitting's $105, the driver fitting's $105, and the putter fitting's $50. If you come and you do a whole fitting, the putter fitting is free.
What time is it?
What time is it?
Courtship.
I thought we were going to 7:30.
What time is it? We got to get ready to get close here. Anyway, if you do the full fitting, the putter fitting is free. It takes about 3.5 hours for us to go through a full fitting. So if you're an older person or somebody that's not ready to do 3 hours worth of hitting golf balls, I would suggest that you split it up. Same thing still happens. Now, if you go to other places, it may be a little bit more. Some might be a little bit less, but what I would suggest is you call the fitter and ask them about their philosophies in fitting and see if it marries up to the way that you like it. All right, Josh Foltz. Hey, there we go. This is the emergency turnaround.
Okay.
And just joined live. Thanks again for the quick turnaround. First class. Well, you are very welcome, John. Thank you so very much.
That's awesome.
All right. Have you hit the Dynapower carbon driver yet? Is it as good as is it this good? And I'm going to have you build me a third set of Wilson CBs to go with the Dynapower driver. Well, Stephen, I've got one of every one. It is crazy. I got one of every one out there. And no, I have not. And that's because, see these guys right here, they take a special cog for each individual driver. And the day that they came out, I contacted the manufacturer to make them. And I got told last week that they were ready. And I've got 3 coming my way. So they should be here next week. And if they are, It's game on. Testing for game on. I'm seeing a lot of good stuff from this. Peter Finch, another YouTuber out there, he said he hit one into the 370s with this thing. He was full out. I mean, he was full out. He thinks he caved the face on it, but he was really quite surprised. Price for performance, nobody's beating it. So very cool. All right, David Hunter. Do I need to add weight to a club if I cut 1/2 inch off the butt end of steel shafts? Wait, no, you don't. I'm going to sound like a jerk when I say this, but the answer is no, you don't. You don't have to do that. Will it make the club feel lighter in the head? Yeah, yes, it will. But you may find out that you like it.
Yeah.
All right. That's the thing with these guys. I get kind of topsy-turvy about guys that go from a 120 gram shaft down to an 80 gram shaft, and they go, I got to have a D4 swing weight. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. You do not need that. You might find out that you like it just the way it is. I would take, in order not to get too expensive with it, put a grip on 2 of the clubs that you would use most of the time and go out and hit them and see if you like it. And if you don't, then don't. Then you're good to go. If you find out that it's a little too light, then yeah. The easiest way to go is just the easiest way. Lead tape on the bottom, right? Just run it along the backside, the length of from heel to toe on whatever you can whatever you get to adhere to. And just run along the length of the bottom, and you'll like that. You'll like that. It's not very pretty, but you'll end up liking that way better. All righty, we got 2 more. Look, we're at the bottom anyway.
I was going to say.
All right, Ken Turner. Thanks, guys. There you go. John Jambor. Great content again. See you, JJ, PJ, South Dakota. Oh, okay. All righty, dude. Well done. Thanks, man. I remember that. Yep.
South Dakota is a heck of a place to play golf.
Really?
You would never believe it. South Dakota is a place to go play golf.
Nice.
Yes. I've played in the Sioux Falls area.
Yeah.
Played in the Rapid City area. If you guys know that area, Rapid City is where you would find your Mount Rushmore, Deadwood, that whole area, and obviously Sioux Falls. But the golf there is unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Oh. My dad actually went to South Dakota State
University. Yes, you told me that. Yes,
on a music scholarship.
Yes,
yeah, it was pretty cool. So it was good. All righty, so guys, it looks like we got thanks. Very good, and we made it to the end, dude.
Nice.
We didn't go. We're
not getting yelled at.
We're not getting yelled at a lot. So again, guys, thanks for asking the questions. We really like that. Having fun with Matt here.
Oh, yes.
It's always a good time. And we hope his daughter got enough snacks to eat because she named out for that.
She was here. That's the reason why we're here.
And as always, let's see your scores. Go low.